We open the main gates by shooting a switch and are locked in. While this switch was very straightforward, the next one is the best in the whole game. I know this is a weird award, but you'll see what I mean. I'm never quite sure if the writers intended this innuendo here. We're up against another flying robot thing. These are easily defeated by shooting their massive weak spots. Fighting them is a decent mix of aiming under pressure and dodging fire, but the camera sensitivity in the PC version makes this more painful than fun. We sneak past the lasers to get a map of the place. A big crate shows us that we'll have to return here with Double H later on. I love this button. Just pressing it from up close doesn't do you a whole lot of good. The gate will have closed by the time you get back to your hovercraft. Instead, we time a gyrodisc just right to activate the button from the opposite end of the room. Now that we've docked on the other side, we can bring Double H along. Having Double H press the button while we're standing on the gate gives us access to a new part of the map. We get frame trapped by a security bot and proceed to knock it into the coils. For this, we're rewarded with a mecha impulsor. We take Double H to the crate and with this help break through the steel bars in the room with the security jerk. We kick a guard and have him photobomb us repeatedly. There's a somewhat tricky animal in here. Startle it with a gyrodisc and make it come out of hiding to get a picture. The next room over is a similar deal. You'll have a hard time getting this one on your own, so ready your camera and have Double H press the button for you. We get another round of knocking robots into lightning. We've seen plenty of those by now. One of the potatoes was carrying a triangle key, which seems to be a thing they do. Unlocking a side room through the power of friendship, we get a pearl and an M-disc reader. It's quite clever to have to hand Double H your second triangle key to progress. Not too hard to figure out, but a very rewarding little thing indeed. We sent Double H through a laser gauntlet 3 times. I feel like he should probably put on his helmet, but I guess he's just living on the edge. This part is just kind of a waste of time, but I suppose it's a way to show that Double H is actually useful. Up ahead we get evidence of unconscious humans being loaded into shuttles. Enraged by the suffering the Alphas have caused, we perform the double iris shuffle. This is a neat, skill-based double takedown and far more satisfying than a synchronized attack button.
Paige had to go through all that. I hope he survived.
He's alive, Miss Jade. They're very careful about keeping them that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're very careful. There's shortcuts everywhere. And with that we made it to the interior moats. What's neat about the slaughterhouses is that they're split into multiple segments separated by water, and you can visit them in any order.
We'll meet up further on.
10-4. Sometimes you have to break up the team. Carlson and Peters, page 824.
I would love to read Carlson and Peters in its entirety. To explain the joke, page 823 says don't break up the team, or the butt, which I only assume is intentional because the German translation Team nicht auflösen abbreviates to TNA. I checked the French original, I checked the French original En casse pas le binôme, which unsurprisingly translates to don't break up the 2-person team or pairing. So unless binôme is also slang for butt cheeks, the translators were having fun with this one, which as a translator myself, I get. Trust me, I've hidden some jokes here and there that only I would find funny. We horribly murdered the dumbest guard of all time. This room introduces smoke, which is a neat gimmick. You see the instant kill bot and the smoke at the same time. It clicks immediately. I'm not allowed to be seen. I can probably hide in smoke. Excellent level design, at least until you turn the corner. In terms of stealth, this encounter is perfectly fine, but the fact that the guards are just standing there, spinning in circles in an empty corridor is immersion-shatteringly stupid. The room only provides a few seconds of gameplay, so at least it's over quickly. Next up, we have to kick a fuse box to get a fuse that is for some reason at the end of a laser corridor. This is another silly gameplay over in-universe logic challenge. We beat up 2 laser bots and get past some mines. And so we enter the hardest stealth challenge in the game. A small room full of guards with an insta-kill bot right outside our hidey hole. Ducking away into it, we get a pearl and a better vantage point. From here, we'll carefully plan our approach and stealth our way through non-lethally and undetected. We're faced with our fuse kick sprint challenge to open up an elevator and progress. After European extreming previous encounters, I decided to show off the super attack strengthener we bought 20 pages ago. Sweet Jesus. Since it takes forever to charge, it's never really useful in a fair fight. Its main use are the 2 or 3 times you'll get a guard trapped on geometry and really want to cheese him. The camera tries to kill us and we proceed to the now unguarded room. We send more stolen crystals to the bank, which should immediately give away our position. Come to think of it, how come the bank never stops to wonder how this 20-year-old freelance reporter acquires whole crates of crystals every day? Our bank froze our account when we bought a couch online. I find all of this hard to believe is all I'm saying. Anywho, we receive a PA-1, which is also a welcome health refill. We brutally murder the second dumbest guard of all time. This hasn't really been relevant yet, but a clever bit of design are the laser barriers at the exits of most stealth rooms. If you trigger the alarm, you won't be able to proceed until you've escaped or killed all witnesses. That could dark you. You don't have to kill them. But you can. We meet back up with Double H and proceed to the central hall.
Double H, I've covered the entire section over there. There are guards everywhere, but nothing for the report.
We're able to slip in. Let's keep going. I think we're almost there.
This is where subtitles start to just come in way too late. I don't know why this is, but it persists throughout the rest of the game.
That's where the victims transit through. Go ahead. I'll cover your back. Don't forget to take a picture.
The PC version definitely needed more polish. We get a picture that for some reason reminds me of Mario Party 1 and make our way back to the hovercraft. Using torpedoes, we open up a new passage, and despite our inability to steer hovercrafts, we somehow make it through the minefield perfectly. Since we have money to burn, we'll buy all full heal items for later. In the East Wing, the game teaches us that Double H's super action can incapacitate guards. I like that the game introduces this option naturally, but doesn't restrict you from using it earlier. There's an M-disc reader behind some coils. We can reach it by kicking the fuse box, but can only leave by having Double H hit it for us. Not a challenge, but a cute little moment of cooperation. We sneak through a grate while Double H will explore a different part of the complex. It's a nice little touch. He doesn't just wait for us to come back, but instead uses his own infiltration skills and laser-proof armor to explore. This doesn't affect gameplay, but it's a clever way to get him out of the way for stealth sections without making him feel like a burden. Ahead, we encounter a single guard, so sneaking is optional. There's another straightforward stealth section with an insta-kill bot. The timing is a little tricky, but it's a very vanilla step up in difficulty. We place a horrible curse on ourselves by forgetting to go up that elevator. We'll come back for it one day. There's a very memorable puzzle here. We'll need to fuse, but taking it disables the elevator. Pushing a box onto the lift allows us to climb back up while the power is out. Placing the fuse and opening the hatch, we dangle from a crate once again to get our hands on the PA-1. Here we can see shuttles from the Nutribal's factory landing and delivering crates filled with K-Bups and humans. We meet Double H and go to hell.
So, see anything yet?
Negative. Nothing compromising anyway. Have to find a passage to the central hall.
We fight the camera as 3D models of Satan's trilobites slide across the floor and clip into us. This is the worst moment in the entire game. The only way to beat these guys without dying on the inside is by spamming Double H's earthquake attack. And the trilobites don't even fly up in a fun way, they just stop animating briefly. I really wish the devs had just left this part out. It's not up to the same standards as the rest of the game. At least, we're now back to good old-fashioned stealth as we make our way to Central Hall once again. We kill the third dumbest guard in the game. I'm sure you can keep this guy alive, but natural selection dictates he be removed from the gene pool. Same goes for his brother, we need to be thorough. We eliminate 2 guards so we can comfortably take a fuse and get our final bit of evidence for the report. We receive an email telling us to meet you-know-who, you-know-where. This is clearly a security measure. While Iris are making progress improving the alpha sections to be naughty boys, the alphas are no doubt also getting closer to finding Iris. Using the fuse, we open the way forward. Now that Iris 514 has been published, it's time for us to get out of here. On the way back, we meet my favorite switch again. Checking the map, I noticed an optional area that I overlooked. Climbing on the gate and having Double H push the button allows us to run across and access a room with another animal friend waiting for his time to shine. We get another code from the governor and open the gate to access the shortcut to the racetracks.
The governor's taking a lot of risks by helping us. I hope we can pay her back one day.
I hope so too. But for the time being. We have to get back to Iris. We need to bring the team up to date.
I've never thought about it before, but it's interesting how this area doesn't have any bosses, while the factory had 2. This is one of the reasons I believe the devs did not nearly have the time and money they would have liked, but no boss is better than a bad boss. We get to fight another Dom Serpent. Not the best time, Francis. This round against the sea monster makes far better use of the open world. You'll have to jump the barriers several times while fighting it. Other than that, there's not a lot to say about this one. We patch ourselves up with a set of pods, cute little repair bots to fix up your ship. I like them a lot. I decide to show off a neat little bit of world building by firing at a fishing boat. Doing so will cause a police car to fly out from the nearest city gate and find you. It's only 250 units, so if you're not aware of this feature, you won't suffer too much, but it's enough of a slap on the wrist to discourage shooting wildly. I also love that the police has a portrait of an Alpha Section soldier representing them. This is another small way the game conveys the extent of the Alpha's influence. There's some optional content for us to wrap up. 3 more looter caverns, which all work the same. This game came out before Ubisoft started putting out nothing but open world games. The fact that there are only 4 well-designed, distinct hovercraft chases instead of 50 copy-pasted ones is retroactively very refreshing. While trying to take a good look at the center of town, I also noticed that cars will honk if you're in their way. This is obviously not a huge deal, but all the little things do it up to make the world feel more alive. Back in the pedestrian district, we can see more of the effects of Jade's work. Soldiers of the regular army have started to distance themselves from the Alpha sections. This one in particular is recommending the Iris paper. You can see the internal struggle in those few lines. He casually recommends the Iris paper, but seems to have orders to tell citizens to read the Hylian word. He ultimately defies those orders, which makes him uncomfortable. He's worried he'll face repercussions, and since he now knows the Alpha Section's methods, fear is likely the only thing keeping him from standing up to them. The general population now believes Iris. They need to stop listening to that big moron hiding behind his Twitter account. This line is pure writing goodness. The Alpha Sections have been working against the populace and covering the tracks with their propaganda, hiding behind the media they control, using it as both a mask and a shield. I love the moments when you speak to a citizen and they mention donating pearls to Iris. It makes collecting the big donations more impactful by adding that little bit of humanity. We also find 2 NPCs that originally doubted the Iris network, but had a change of heart when more evidence was revealed. This is a very important statement that is relevant to this day and will probably continue to be relevant for as long as we exist. Blindly following and believing someone because you like what you hear is a very common trait most humans share, and it's easy to forgive. But ignoring facts because you're too proud to admit that you were wrong can have horrible consequences, both personally and politically. The writers did an excellent job here trying to convey this message. I was wrong, you were right. With just 6 words, you can stop being part of the problem and work towards making the world a better place. I'm always disappointed when a developer claims to not want to make any statements, so I hope the fine folk at Montpellier won't be afraid to commit to the themes present in the Beyond Good and Evil universe. We go over to Mingsu's to grab our copy of Iris 514.
Iris 514. The people of Hill is kidnapped by the Alpha Section. A report from our special correspondent, Shawnee. We now know even more about the extensive kidnappings that have been striking the Hylian population. The victims are sent through the old slaughterhouses under the supervision of the Alpha Sections. Once there, they are sealed into Dom sarcophaguses, then shipped to the moon. The Alpha Sections and the Doms are annihilating the population of Hillis.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We meet Babukar in front of the Okuda bar. Nice rhythm. He's really small now for some reason, clearly a blunder on the developer's part. He's holding a French Section Alpha sign because he's a hipster and tells us that protecting the Hylian way of life is more important than the garage. You know you made a splash if a rhino is willing to leave his garage for your cause. Since I already scared off the easily offended by talking about politics, now is a good time to talk about a scrapped song that was supposed to be used in the Okuda bar. The track Funky Mola? The track Funky Mola was created 3 days before the 9/11 terror attacks. The song contains muezzin-style vocals, with the muezzin being the person calling Muslims to prayer several times throughout the day. Christopher considers this to be in bad taste in light of these terror attacks, and created propaganda to take Funky Mola's place. I respect the decision, and Propaganda is a superior song with a thematically appropriate message. I do, however, disagree with the reasoning. Beyond Good and Evil does not shy away from religious references. Page mentions Jesus several times, and all we've seen from Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been set in and around Ganesha City. Its style is very distinctly multicultural, and taking away Muslim representation because of the actions of a small subset of deranged psychopaths strikes me as unfair. If any Muslims happen to be watching this video, I would love to hear your opinion on this matter. I'm happy to see, however, that the song has been preserved and made available to the public. Anywho, minigames. Francis is serious this time, so you better bring your A game if you want to... Oh, never mind. Upstairs we go and into the hideout.
Ah, J, Double H, perfect timing. We've been waiting for you. There's someone here that would very much like to meet you. Governor, please allow me to introduce you to our...
Yes, we already know each other, through email.
Your help has been a great service to us, Governor.
Without those codes, we wouldn't have been able to do anything.
I am overjoyed to finally be able to meet you face to face, Jade. Your reports have had a large impact on the population. Just a little more effort, and I'm sure we'll be able to count on the support of all Hylians to rid our planet of the Alpha sections and the DOMs. Here, this will be useful in continuing your fight.
Thank you. This will help us find those that have disappeared, if it isn't already too late.
Well done, Yade. The chief, he's alive! It's incredible!
Your chief? Had he disappeared?
Taken by the Alpha sections. We haven't heard anything from him for weeks.
Wild boar calling Iris! Wild boar calling Iris!
Hey, that's my uncle! Paige!
Your uncle? Our chief?
He communicates with you by radio?
Security measure. Until now, nobody knew his real identity.
Paige! Is that you?
He can't hear you, Jade. Quiet, everyone. He'll call back. Don't make a sound.
Wild boar calling Iris! I don't have much time. They're everywhere. They've taken me to the moon. Here are my instructions. Get this message to Jade, your new reporter. Read the M disc that I gave you and find the ship. Read the M disc and find the... They're coming! Ah!
He gave you an M disc?
Just before they kidnapped him.
Listen, Jade. This ship is essential. It's the missing element from our plan. If you find it, we have a chance to succeed. Paige is being held prisoner on the moon, probably with the other victims. You have to go there. Nino has a plan. Here's what we'll do.
They use a long-range transmitter to broadcast their propaganda from the moon. We can strike them where it hurts by broadcasting your reports on their own screens using this long-range transmitter.
That's an excellent plan. You find Paige's ship. You go to the moon. You wrap up your report. You take control of the transmitter. You broadcast the report. The population rises up.
And that's the end of the Alpha sections.
What does Carlson and Peters think?
They say that it would be suicide. But I say, when the going gets tough...
Oh, that helmet thing was just for dramatic effect? Okay.